what's up? I'm Channel Pup Fanboy Supervillain. Today, I'm going to be reacting and kind of reviewing what is considered by a lot of Sonic fans to be one of the worst pitches ever made. A video that gets brought up every once in a while when Sonic fans want to talk about how kind of normies don't get Sonic, how this beloved franchise is under attack, and it's a video that is now 10 years old. This is Dear Sega by Javid Sterrit, a name I will go on to misinterpret and mispronounce several times throughout the remainder of this video. I apologize in advance for that. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you love Sonic, and the links to my Patreon and Ko-Fi pages are in the description below if you're feeling extra generous today, which I always hugely appreciate. So it's no secret that Sonic fans are pretty protective of Sonic the Hedgehog. And if they feel like their boy is under any kind of attack, well, they are ready to attack back. Sometimes it can be the slightest bit of negativity towards a recent release, perfectly innocuous criticisms. Telekinestic Man says it far better than I ever could in his Sonic Frontiers critique video, so I'm just going to play a quick excerpt from that.
As per usual, terminally online Sonic fans refused to let anyone express their negative opinions of an upcoming Sonic game without initiating a dogpile. The exact same things happened during the pre-release of Sonic Forces and even the Sonic movie of last year, but of course we all just forgot that happened and made the same mistakes all over again.
And what I've learned from this is that absolutely nothing has changed over the past 10 years. As today, we are going to be analyzing a Sonic the Hedgehog pitch video from yesteryear that got a dude dogpiled off YouTube for a little bit. Something that got so bad that the guy had to unlist his own video, which he clearly worked pretty hard on. Now, from the looks of things, from his website, from his social media, he's still around. He's doing pretty well, actually. He's got quite an esteemed career. So let's look at Dear Sega. That's the name of this video. Is it as bad as everyone says? Let's find out. Now, I am coming at this from the perspective of someone who has made plenty of Sonic pitch videos myself. I'll put a few links to them in the pinned comments. I've pitched my own concept for a Sonic Frontiers sequel. I've made pitch videos on kind of how Sega can move forward with gameplay and different engines for Sonic. I've made videos on kind of where Sega can go stylistically with Sonic. So there's a lot to check out on that front. So I am coming at this from another person that believes in creative solutions to creative problems. I'm also a content creator. I'm aware of the kind of damage it can do to get dogpiled by Sonic fans over an innocuous opinion or an idea. So without further ado, let's see what Javid has to say.
I believe if you're going to criticize the creative content of others, bring a creative solution to the table with you. While this video analyzes certain aspects of Sonic's gameplay, I do not claim to be an authority on game design. I only mean to present creative ideas to a problem I recognize in a struggling franchise.
Okay, so I've done this whole spiel myself a few times, and I do believe that it is good to kind of bring your own creative solutions along to a problem that requires creativity. If you interpret there's a problem there. So yeah, this is a good preface. Good going, Javid.
Dear Sega. My name's Javid.
Hi.
I work as an animator for a creative studio in Sydney, Australia. I'm also a game design graduate and develop small-time games on this.
So immediately off the jump, we're explaining why we should listen to this guy. He does have some idea of what he's talking about. So this is a good way to start a pitch, is to kind of say who you are and what your background is. And yes, you are much more likely to be taken seriously. So keep that in your back pocket. That's going to come up later, I think.
In this video, I'll be presenting my case for redesign for one of your most enigmatic franchises, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh yeah, okay. Let's see what you got, Javid. I already know, I've seen this ages ago, but still. Holding on that. Yep,
It's
okay.
no secret that your Sonic has seen brighter days. As I'm
Average opening to a gaming journalist article. But for the sake of what he's trying to achieve here,
sure you're very aware, you don't have to look far
see,
to find
he's even
from writers
he's proven it.
Why they don't like your games anymore. To be honest, they aren't inaccurate. But what I haven't seen are creative suggestions on how to remedy what seem to be holes in the vision for Sonic. And this is what I want to do here. I want to look at the cold hard data and present a creative solution for a redirecting, if you will, of
Look at all these motion graphics. This is a really nicely made video. You could tell he put his heart and soul into this.
your mascot. Before we go further, I think it's important that we look at your sales and your ratings, and take a look at how your platforming rival Mario is tracking as well.
All right, so a lot of people are going to say, why bring Mario into this? I know a lot of Sonic fans get that way whenever Mario is brought up, because there are some times when it's like, yeah, new Sonic thing. Haha, Mario though, right? But it is important to kind of take that into account, because Sonic is the Mario Buster. Sonic's job back in the 90s was decentralizing the gaming industry, taking things away from Nintendo, taking some of that power away, tipping the scales so that other developers could have their time to shine. And in many ways, that is the legacy of Sonic the Hedgehog. That's the enduring legacy of Sonic the Hedgehog, is that we have different game developers that are also kind of on the same spotlight as Nintendo. Like, he's done his job. But I do love the idea that Sonic could still compete with Mario. Why shouldn't he? What, really, why shouldn't he? Like, it makes no sense.
So here is a graph of your sales to date in millions, telling us that Sonic 2 on the Genesis has been your highest success in terms of units sold, coming in at 6 million. Sonic Boom being your lowest at 400,000.
Okay, I'm gonna quickly jump in here. Because this is a pet peeve. I know it's not entirely relevant to the video, but this is a pet peeve, is when people refer to it as Sonic Boom. It's Rise of Lyric. When people refer to Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric as Sonic Boom, it kind of attributes everything about that branch of the franchise to that one game, which obviously didn't work. But there are other Sonic Boom games that were actually very good, like Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. You can say, you know, Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal has some progression issues, but it is still a pretty strong game, in my opinion. So I think, yeah, when you constantly refer to it as just that Sonic Boom, I understand why it happened, because the game was announced as Sonic Boom. Back when they had that first announcement, it was like Sonic Boom the game, Sonic Boom the series. But I think it is important to make the distinction that it is Rise of Lyric. And the reason I say this is going to come up later. I will explain later why this gentleman in particular, Jarvin, that's the name. I'm terrible with names, but that's one I can remember. Why him referring to it as just Sonic Boom and kind of using that as the low point is going to get kind of funny in the pitch later, okay? So just watch out.
Super Mario. I've lined these up by year of release. Without any surprise, Mario's first game, which came out during the very young and ripe age of gaming, owns spot number 4 in the list of best-selling video games of all time at 40 million. His sales fluctuate quite a lot as well, which is completely normal. Now, there are a few factors here that aren't accounted for, such as regions of release and also console sales data at the time of the game's
peaks
release.
and valleys, but
this does make this data
Sonic has some little peaks compared to Mario.
I've put this here so we can start to get an idea of where you're roughly sitting in relation to the most successful platform series.
Now, it is important to do this kind of stuff because the video is called Dear Sega, so it's kind of why they would be interested. I'm assuming he probably sent this to someone at Sega. I would assume he probably did that, because I don't think you'd just go to all the trouble of making this just to put it out on YouTube for it to get ripped apart by Sonic fans. God, it's really unfortunate, because you can tell a lot of effort has gone into this.
But let's move on to reviews. These are very important in gauging how successful the game was in connecting with your audience. So here is a graph of Sonic's reviews according to GameRankings.com. This tells us that Sonic 3 on the Genesis is your highest ranking game at 89%, while Sonic Boom, again, is at the lowest at 33%.
So, like, look, we're Sonic fans. We've all seen our fair share of reviews that we would call unfair, whatnot. But I do think it is important to kind of understand why Sonic kind of gets these reviews anyway, you know. And I think that's kind of what Jarvin's kind of gonna get into a little bit. Like, that's the thing though, is just looking at the cold hard data. It's not really talking about what percentage of these reviews were made by, you know, people that, you know, don't really care for Sonic, because that is a thing that can happen in, like, gaming journalism, is that, like, sometimes the wrong people are just assigned the wrong project. Like, you'll get someone who hates platformer games reviewing a Sonic game, or something like that. It can happen, you know? And that's not me saying every bad review of Sonic is like that, you know? Sometimes Sonic games get negative reviews, and it is pretty much fair, you know? Like, it happens, like, yeah. Okay, we'll kind of move on from that, because my brain is doing a foggy.
Now let's add in Mario. What I think is worth noting,
you know, looking at that, Sonic actually isn't that bad off. I gotta admit, like, obviously the highs of Mario are a little higher than Sonic, and the lows of Sonic are a little lower than Mario. Well, a lot lower, but like that's not terrible.
Here is that at the beginning of Sonic's career, each new game was connecting more successfully than the last. While it seems Mario in the beginning struggled to find his feet. It's important to state that I think Nintendo established the foundation for compelling platforming before Sonic arrived on the scene. But even so, it's clear that your games were maturing at a promising rate.
Yeah.
Now the reason I've been adding in Mario is to show you that as
Let's look at these declines and rises for a second here. I want to look at this out of curiosity. So yeah, it peaks out at Sonic 3, I think, and then it dips down a little at Sonic Adventure. Oh, there's quite a dip down there. Like, hang on, does that even line up with it? Yep, that lines up. Sonic Adventure is a little bit of a dip. Sonic Adventure 2 is a big dip, apparently. Sonic Advance is a dip. Sonic Heroes is a bit of a dip. Sonic Rush, apparently about as good as Sonic Adventure 2. And Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 is way down there. Okay, that's the old chestnut. Sonic and the Secret Rings clearly bringing things back a little bit. Why is Unleashed lower than Secret Rings? What? Is that real? Is that how those review scores really are? Damn. Sonic Colors brought things home, though. Kept things pretty high for Generations. Lost World, though. It makes it look like Sonic Generations to Lost World was an upward spiral, and really it wasn't. It should be more staggered than that, I think. And yeah, Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric is way down low.
Platform game, he's still connecting with his audience and pulling in huge revenue.
Okay, yeah, Mario definitely doesn't have a drop-off like that.
He's no longer king of the industry. Mario is doing something right here, and I think it's safe to say, judging by your very low and chaotic shifts in ratings, it's something that hasn't become clear to you yet.
That's the thing is Sonic games, yeah, they are sporadic when, you get a good one or a bad one.
In your audience.
I mean, I think most of them are good, but I can see why some people...
Here I will present my ideas,
okay,
while at the same time explaining what I believe are the problems we're fixing.
So yeah, we started off with cold hard data. Now we're going into his idea. Okay, solid foundation.
So let's bring in Sonic.
Wow. Look at that.
First thing to notice is the art style. We're steering away from the 3D models you've been using for the last 17 years, and bringing in a more organic aesthetic through paint and water brush.
The idea of a Sonic game being given like a paint and water brush aesthetic is actually something I could totally vibe with. And I don't think this design here is bad. I think it's a neat little reimagining of Sonic. I don't see that as Sonic himself, and we'll kind of go into why in a bit as he kind of goes more into the how and why of his design philosophy here. And you know, if you're going to redesign Sonic, you're taking a big risk. I think Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, when you look at a lot of the reviews, a lot of them were just like, it's mediocre, it's average, but it's gained this reputation among a lot of people that haven't really played the game for being this low point, this appalling, disastrous piece of shit. And I've played it myself, and I think it's perfectly mediocre, just like a lot of the reviews say. I think it's gained that reputation because a lot of people simply object to the idea of redesigning Sonic. And it's quite funny how, like, Sonic Boom is cited as a low point here. And I think it's quite funny because, like, that's the game that redesigned Sonic, did a radical thing. So what's our remedy to this? Is to radically, even more drastically, redesign Sonic. I will say this is really nicely rendered, though. Like, he's brought this to life really well. I think if you're going to pitch something like this, it's great to have that visual component. That's something I can't always do. Because I have to get videos out within a week, or else I won't get to eat. But yeah, I think he's done a nice job rendering all this. The background doesn't have that distinct Sonic look, and I guess that makes sense because that's what he's trying to move it away from. But to be fair, you could probably put that on any other video game. It's quite clear to me that the guy's doing a Rayman Origins with this, and Rayman Origins was a good game. Rayman Legends even better. You know, that was a good shift for Rayman, even though I thought there was nothing wrong with the Rayman of yesteryear, back when we had games like, you know, Rayman 2 and 3. Like, you know, I do think the shift to Rayman Origins and Rayman Legends was good for bringing it back, you know, re-establishing things.
Colors remain relatively the same, but Sonic's lean and a bit more animal, as opposed to your fuller, more attitude-heavy design. He has a backpack symbolizing adventure, and his gloves and socks are gone. He's wide-eyed and vulnerable.
Wide-eyed and vulnerable. Now, that's not something you usually hear with Sonic. That's how you know he's serious. This is a radical departure, all right? So let's hear him.
He's still fast, but isn't cocky about it. In fact, he doesn't have much expression at all. He's a blank canvas.
That's not uncommon for a lot of platformer games to kind of do this kind of thing. Look at a game like, say, Unravel, and like those characters, those little yarny fellas are definitely blank canvae. Is that the term for multiple canvases? And it is so that the player can kind of, you know, be the character in a way. Like, but that's always something that was very different between Sonic and Mario. I made this video a little while back about like who Sonic really is, and it kind of goes into detail about how like video game mascot characters were someone you could just implant yourself onto. Like you had Pac-Man, who is just a mouth that travels around a maze. You had Frogger, the frog. And then you had Mario, who is very much like the utilitarian video game design, in that, like, everything is designed to look good as a pixelated graphic and everything like that. He wasn't truly a character, but he was there as kind of like a player set, you know? And there was more character there than there was a lot of his contemporaries. But with Sonic, this was the point where the actual character in the game was more important to the story than the player themselves. So I kind of feel like we're defeating the object by making Sonic into this blank canvas character. I think that defeats a lot of the point of Sonic and takes away a lot of what makes people obsessed with Sonic. Like, I think that's something you got to tap into for a pitch like this, is why are people obsessed with Sonic? Why is it that the people that like Sonic like him so much? How can we lend that over to a bigger audience? And what I see here is like a game you download from the PlayStation Store. It might get a sequel if you're lucky, and that'll be it. But yeah, let's keep listening.
So, while I think the overall spirit and feel for Sonic is there, he's a little bit different. Why? Because he isn't designed to appeal to children. And Sega, this is why I believe your games aren't connected. I
gotta jump in with this. Whenever people talk about this video, one of the first things that comes up is, haha, he pronounces Sega funny. And I don't find it funny because I have a passport. I'm aware that people who live miles and miles away are gonna talk different. I'm pretty sure this is just how Australians would say Sega. The fact is, like, even among, like, British and American people, it's either Sega or it's Sega, and it's like you still have that logo that comes up before Sonic games that goes Sega, and it, you know, like, you can hear that, but again, it's kind of what comes natural to your mother tongue, your dialect, in a way. So, like, you know, people called me out for pronouncing Emerl as Emerl, like the character from Sonic Battle. Some people are like, no, it's pronounced Emerald. But it doesn't, it's not spelt that way. At least for me, anyway, it's not. Like, an English person is not going to get Emerald from the way that's spelt. It's Emerl. So, yeah, that's just that. So, okay, yes, get out of the way. Ha ha, you said Sega funny. All right, very good. His pitch has truly been dismantled. Let's move forward.
Anymore. You're targeting the wrong demographic.
This is immediately very interesting, though. This is a very interesting approach. It's like, we want this new Sonic to be more successful than the old Sonic. Make it for adults. This feels more niche immediately. I guess the games would be probably made with a much lower budget, given that they're moving away from the kind of the 3D models. So...
Let me explain. Sonic 1 was released in 91, and this was the ad.
Gotta go. Hey, guy, you're the first serious gamer I've seen all morning. Check this out. Brand new 16-bit Super Nintendo with Super Mario World. Wow!
What's this one?
Oh, this is a Sonic the Hedgehog from Sega.
Yeah, it's quite clear that this is targeting the people that are going to be buying the tech.
Sonic's fast, too.
No, over here.
And that's like a teenager voice.
Genesis, and it costs a lot less.
Wait, kid, that game
I'll
there.
take Sonic and Genesis.
I knew that.
Sonic the Hedgehog. More action, more speed. Sega Genesis. It's a whole
Yeah,
lot
clearly
more
targeting
complex.
So it's pretty clear
slightly
that
older
because
than
of the
kids.
This is cooler approach.
Teenagers.
This was targeted at kids and young teens between 6 and 15. Judging by those sales and ratings we saw earlier, you pretty much nailed it. Now let's watch an ad from 2014's Sonic Boom.
Kitty, come down.
Let's rock!
I got this.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you do it?
I like this commercial.
Oh, no. We're better at this in our world. Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric. You can pre-order now.
Cute and slapstick.
Yep.
I say you're still aiming for that same age group. Not that this ad was bad. Sega, here is the
Now, that's kind of interesting. I've extrapolated something a little different to what he has. He kind of feels like that targets the same age demographic as the ad before it. The ad before it was very much teens, young adults, I would say. Whereas this ad here was more kids. Well, definitely like the family crowd anyway, but probably skewing more kids. So I would say, if anything, like, the way they've marketed that is actually a younger demographic than before.
main problem. The fan base you established with the first Sonic game in 91 are now living 24 years older here in 2015.
Okay, alright, where are we going with this?
While your original fans who hold you most dear are in their 30s, you're still aiming for that same age group and disregarding your original fan base. And guess what? Your original fan base now have jobs with money to buy your games.
I can see the logic to this, but
They now have extensive knowledge of the Sonic universe.
okay, hold on. Alright. It's so... What we're basically saying is target the fans more. Keep the fans... We're really taking the fans into account with this very dramatic reboot. We're taking into account that the people that are buying these games have an extensive connection to the Sonic universe that this video kind of looks to do away with. So we do have a bit of a contradiction here. Like, the kind of things that this is suggesting are the kind of things that would probably alienate long-term fans and would serve to bring in a new audience. So that's a little strange.
Most likely share somewhere on the internet, aka free, positive online publicity. In Australia,
Yes, so you need to kind of honor why they loved Sonic in the first place then.
a study held by Bond University shows that the average gamer is 30 years old. So your games are actually going to be played longer and by more people if this is where you're targeting. Not only that, the age group you're aiming for just don't care about Sonic anymore. They're more interested in the next action shooter or sports game. Why? Because it's cool to be playing those games. They don't have an emotional connection with platformers like your older gamers do. Sega, your demographic is here in the 18 to 30-year-old bracket.
Okay, this is this is bizarre to me. I feel like everything that's being pitched here is just make Sonic into a niche indie game, effectively. Probably a good one too, but like, Sega want to continue to bring in new fans the way they did back in the 90s. If kids grew up with Sonic in the 90s and have grown to love it now, they want to bring new people in. But it's like, surely then, if you're purely targeting the 18 to 30-year-old demographic here, you'd surely want to just do more like kind of Sonic Mania / Sonic Adventure adjacent kind of things. But, like, I understand why Sega have kind of done what they've done in the past of, like, you know, target the young'uns of every generation. And, I mean, it goes to show, I mean, okay, hindsight is 2020. I have something this video doesn't have, and that's 10 years of additional hindsight. And we've seen kind of how conversation has kind of shifted in a different direction around Sonic, where it used to be very much dominated by classic fans who wanted Sonic to return to his roots. Nowadays, you're hearing a lot more from, like, adventure fans who thought those games were a peak, you know? So it's different generations that get bought on at different times, grow up with different things, and have different sensibilities. And because Sonic has so kind of drastically changed over the years, people can't really agree on what Sonic is. And I think that's evidence to say that, no, the demographic is not in the 18 to 30-year-old bracket. It's still gonna be kids and up. That said, that doesn't mean they should target exclusively kids. I think Sonic Forces is kind of an example of where they were really kind of targeting kids, in that it's marketed like a war game. It's like Call of Duty meets Sonic. If you look at, like, the final launch trailer for that, you've got, like, Knuckles talking over, like, a communicator, talking about the war and all the devastation. You've got Sonic characters running around with guns. It is quite clearly targeting that demographic, which I thought was actually kind of smart and something that Sonic can lend himself well to. Problem with Sonic Forces was not the marketing, it was the end product. I think recently Sega have actually found a good little midway point, though. Looking at, like, Sonic Frontiers, for the issues that game does have presentation-wise, it's clearly, like, it's made with older Sonic fans who like a rich story and have a deep connection to the Sonic universe in mind, while still being approachable to kiddos. So I think, you know, what Sega have kind of done in kind of targeting younger demographics is always wise. You know, keep growing that fan base. If we just target the 18 to 30-year-old demographic and then just keep kind of growing with them, you're going to end up with a niche product. You're going to end up with a cult series as opposed to something mainstream, which is what Sega wants. Sonic is their big porn star. He's their mainstream success. That's what they want him to be. That makes no sense to change that. You change that, you change the heart of the franchise, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't really think this holds much weight. Not to mention, things are changing again. Again, this video was made in 2014, I think. And kids these days, they love Fortnite. And Fortnite's this wacky, cartoony, very stylized game where you just go around and get up to mischief and shenanigans. Sonic could easily incorporate that kind of imagery into his games. If anything, that would suit it better than, say, what they've kind of been trying to do with Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Galaxy with Sonic Lost World. Like, Sonic with a kind of a Fortnite-y kind of aesthetic would probably work very well. I know a lot of people are currently scoffing at that right now, but just kind of think about it. It doesn't mean it has to be a live service looter shooter, but it could still be, you know, it could still have that sort of art design, which is, you know, not too different to kind of the, oh my god, that's so cool kind of thing that we're going for in 2001, sorry, with Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay, with this newfound knowledge, we need to bring some maturity into the Sonic universe, and this isn't done through guns and action.
Make them say
Through
fuck.
Strong, compelling gameplay, and a character the player actually enjoys playing as. So let's go back to Sonic's new design. The first thing to go is all voice acting, so any character development will be through movement and animation.
No more voice acting. It feels very much like this is appealing to people who are the most critical of Sonic the Hedgehog. It feels like it's kind of bending over backwards to appease that audience. No voice acting. We haven't seen any of Sonic's stupid friends so far, you know?
So one question we need to ask is, what is his personality in relation to his ability? Sonic is fast, and in the past we've seen him embrace this ability with a too cool for school persona, and this was totally relevant in 91. Now, not so much. We need a character we can grow with. So Sonic's idle stance is a little bit cautious. Like the player, he's a little bit unsure of what lies ahead. He's vulnerable, and this means we're on the journey with him.
Interesting. Because that too cool for school kind of persona that has kind of made Sonic isn't... Yeah, it's something that changes with the times. But I think giving up on that idea entirely in favor of making him this vulnerable little guy, we are very much veering away from what the point of this character was. I feel like, you know, this is a franchise that needs to exude confidence, and Sonic himself should be kind of at the heart of that. As well as that, this franchise has survived through thick and thin, partly down to having such an iconic character design. I feel like we're really reducing things here. At least give him his little mono eye or something. But what he's suggesting here is something that we actually have seen in some mainstream Sonic releases recently. A more vulnerable Sonic that we can kind of grow with is exactly what we have in the movies. He's still got that cocky, kind of too cool for school persona, but that's more kind of like one layer of his personality. He's still an unsure guy that grapples with things like loneliness, and he does appear to fear Dr. Robotnik and for the safety of his family. So that's very much what they've done in the movies. They've just managed to do it without completely eliminating that layer of the character.
Sonic runs, he keeps that cautiousness. Now here is where I want to propose something new. When Sonic jumps, he doesn't become a ball straight away like the original games. A second action like the X button triggers a charge attack, and here he is powerful against enemies.
So this is where it's going to get kind of funny, is that we've had games that have done this, where Sonic remains vulnerable in his jump state and only gets that invulnerability through doing a homing attack or an attack move. The games that have done that so far have been Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, except the difference there was that the animation still had him in his bull form. But one that didn't have him in his bull form for when he jumped, and had a sort of a homing attack adjacent move, was Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric. The what this video kind of is treating as kind of the low point of the series.
Down and X smashes Sonic into the ground.
Okay, so that's basically the stomp move.
Or it's the body slam. Left or right and X gives Sonic a kind of air dash. While in his basic jump mode, he's vulnerable, and this adds a great tension into the gameplay by not making Sonic too powerful. The player is required to use fast finger work and quick thinking.
Okay, this is where the Sonic Boom thing is going to get really funny. Referring to Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric as though it's the entire Sonic thing. Not a lot of people have played those 3DS games by Sanzaru Games. All those moves he just showed there are things you can do in Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal and Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. He has this directional dash move that you can kind of chain together in that game, and it's a really cool move. But it's just funny that, again, we're treating Sonic Boom as the low point when what this is doing here is exactly what Sonic Boom did, just on the 3DS. That's just really funny to me. It is a shame that, you know, the entire Sonic Boom brand all had to link back to Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, because the show was good. I think the 2 3DS games by Sanzaru Games were good. The comic was good. Like, I think the majority of Sonic Boom media was really good. And it's just that one game that brought everything down. And just, yeah, I think it's safe to say that a lot of people really do write off Sonic Boom without factoring those games in. Some of the best game reviewers on this platform will write off the entire Sonic Boom brand over those couple of games. And it's ridiculous to say one game is responsible, well, not to say one game is responsible for the downfall of an entire franchise, but that one game represents the quality of an entire branch of the brand. It's just kind of silly to me.
I think the spirit of Sonic is that keep moving approach, and I believe this keeps to that, but just in a different way compared.
The other thing we're doing here is we got a 2D Sonic with much more of the sort of the modern Sonic sensibilities here. In that, like, it doesn't appear to be so much carry your momentum and get that flow state so much as it is kind of keep the finger work going, kind of chain these little attacks together and then get back on your feet and run some more. But we're not really seeing much of that core tenet of Sonic, which is like the running and the building of speed, or how we utilize that speed. It's more just, hey, look at these attacks you can do. And I think if you're going to return Sonic to 2D, you kind of probably ought to factor in a bit more of kind of what made 2D Sonic good.
To the approach of your most recent games. Which brings me to what I believe is problem number 2. The way you're using Sonic.
Alright, here we go. Okay. We actually might be addressing it head on.
Speed is the identity of the series, and it's moved around a lot.
Yep.
Pun intended. The way speed was translated from 2D to 3D had completely changed the way players approached Sonic games. Your fanbase had to learn a different Sonic language. And in the mid-90s, when we were being introduced to polygonal graphics, I think most of your fanbase were open to that. Personally, I think it's important to evolve, especially in the fast-growing world of game design.
Sure.
So I totally respect you for your courage to experiment with Sonic's design. However, without needing to elaborate on the subject that some of your experiments were horribly unpolished, you haven't arrived yet at a platform where Sonic's speed can thrive in a 3D environment. You've tried.
The thing is, we have. We had it the first time around. We had it with Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure laid down this blueprint that you could make 10 games out of and still have it feel fresh. Just have new levels, new environments, new stories, but have that Sonic Adventure 1 gameplay, and everything would have been fine. Maybe polish it out a little bit, but everything would have been fine. They absolutely had something. And then they had something with the boost gameplay as well. And I think they have something with the Frontiers gameplay that needs to be polished up a little bit, but they've certainly got something. I think, if anything, Sonic is more exciting in 3D, personally.
Auto runners. You've tried slowing him down. You've turned him into a hedgehog version of a werewolf. You've added a combat system.
What else did that game do? Darwin, what else did that game do? It laid out the blueprint for Sonic gameplay going forward in 3D. Sonic Unleashed did not just do the werewolf.
And even taken that away. And you've tried making him even faster.
Okay, alright. Okay, so we're showing Generations gameplay here. Explain to me why this can't work. Jarvin, explain to me why this can't work.
After all these years and these different attempts, I believe we're left with something without an identity. What is a Sonic game? I think it's time you realized that Sonic's speed thrived best in a 2D landscape. What helps me to make this point is Sonic Generations, released in 2011. your highest ranking console game in 10 years with 79%. Not only did you give a small nod to your original fan base in the nostalgia, you gave Sonic only 2 dimensions to play with, for 50% of the game at least. So I believe the best way to use Sonic's...
That 50% of the game was considered the weaker half, though, by a lot of people. I don't really have any data or statistics to back that up. That's where we differ, Jarvan. You bring the statistics. I am just kind of speaking anecdotally. But from most of the people I spoke to about Sonic Generations, it was the modern Sonic side of the game that people liked the most. Because classic Sonic, they didn't do an excellent job with. It was an okay sort of version of classic Sonic. It was certainly better than what Sonic 4 Episode 1 gave us at the time. But like it didn't really capture what made classic Sonic great, such as like slope physics and stuff like that. Everything felt that little bit more what's the word? It felt like it needed scripting in order to do things like rolling down slopes and stuff, because Sonic couldn't do it himself. So I feel like bringing up Sonic Generations here doesn't really service that point very well. But also you're noting nostalgia, which is something that your own concept is devoid of.
Speed isn't necessarily in a fast manner, but more so in a momentum-based system where the player determines how fast or slow they wish to
A
proceed.
momentum-based system is a good move. Sega would do well to return.
Now let's talk about rings, a Sonic staple. Collecting 100 rings gives you a life and acts as a sort of shield when you take damage.
Hell yeah, it does.
I think I'd go so far to say the concept of limited lives is, ironically, dead. This is a very broad statement, but excluding Mario,
They went
most
on
of
to
the
do
best
this
modern
after as
platformers
well.
have taken the concept of
They've
lives
clearly-
out of the picture.
I don't know if they
That's
listen to
just really
this,
the
but they've
same.
clearly
You
taken
want
something
the player
on
to
board.
proceed in your game. This does make rings a bit useless, but here I want to present a totally new concept to the core gameplay in Sonic. Referencing again the survey held by Bonn University, the most popular gaming genre across all ages is surprisingly puzzle games, with first-person shooters and action games close behind. Platformers being the least popular. I think you know this.
God, that makes me unwell. The idea that platform is most unpopular among... Like, how could gaming become that?
Which is why you've tried to blend genres by bringing in slower puzzle-based sections in your latest game. I say puzzle here very hesitantly. The definition of a puzzle is a problem designed to test ingenuity or knowledge. Like a jigsaw, we have all the pieces, but it's the question of how the
So, Banjo-Kazooie ought to thrive today. with the jiggies.
those pieces fit together that generates the problem. And there's a great feeling that comes when the solution finally clicks in the mind of the player. This is compelling gameplay. In Sonic Boom, however, our ingenuity and knowledge aren't being tested. Without spending too long on this, pushing buttons in a linear progression to proceed is not considered a puzzle.
I mean, bottom line is puzzles are not Sonic's strong suit. Sonic Frontiers managed to make it work by kind of having this toy box of different activities to do, and kind of some puzzles were just a part of that. The puzzles were ultimately pretty brain dead, and that's kind of what made it work. But, like, ironically, like, the worst part of Sonic Frontiers was that fucking pinball table. But the pinball table is kind of more what I would want from Island Activities. Just, you know, don't make it bad. Make it good.
Or even interesting gameplay. The button is there, and we press it. There's no need for this to exist, and it comes across as a cheap way to create an ebb and flow in momentum. So here I have an idea, which I believe solves our ring problem and our puzzle problem at the same time. Remember those amazing power-ups you had in your highest ranking game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles?
Yeah.
I want to bring them back, but also
Shield.
connect the collection
Fucking
of rings with them in a
shield. I
current
just like the
sort of
shield.
fashion. If you press the Y button, Sonic opens his backpack and you see the 4 power-up boxes.
I'm noticing Sonic is standing still a lot in your gameplay demonstration. This is really beautifully made. I really must take my hat off and say this is really nicely made. What's being pitched here is something that Sonic Lost World did. Sonic Lost World let you do this. And then they'd kind of go on to do this further with Sonic Superstars, which obviously came quite a bit after this video. But, like, yeah, that is an idea that Sonic has kind of ran with. It's just you kind of need... You need to find a way to get it to do that very quickly, you know, so you're not stood around collecting things. Because, like, a Sonic player, when in that flow state, isn't going to want to pop up this menu to choose their next thing. This is why I think Sonic 3 and Knuckles did it much better than Sonic Superstars did it, was that you'd have these shield boxes placed around the level at a time when you would likely need them. Or not necessarily need them, but benefit from them. That was good. That was a good way of doing it. Much better than pulling up a menu. But this here is giving the player the choice. So, interesting choice. Definitely one that Sega have already experimented with in Sonic Lost World and would go on to experiment further with in Sonic Superstars. But it was definitely better in Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
50 Rings essentially buys you one of these power-ups and you bring it out into the world. Invincibility, fire, lightning.
You know, we're talking about buying things. Talk about a hub world. Give them a hub world. This sounds ripe for a hub world, man.
And the water shield. Not only do they give their respective protection, but we can bring in creative ways to use them in simple puzzle scenarios. And the important thing here is, we have all the jigsaw pieces. You could find a secret area with a road of spikes. The only way over them is you bring out an invincibility box, and this leads to a hidden collectible. You could have puzzles.
I don't like that. That's something the classic Sonic games did well to avoid, was kind of any instance where you had to do one particular thing, where you had to rely on a power-up to get past an obstacle. You should never have to rely on a power-up. You should always have kind of a choice. That use of the power-up might get you there quicker, or get you there in a more smooth fashion, but that there's always another way. You know, I feel like that's taking away kind of a lot of what made those classic Sonic games so great. Was kind of, you know, you could do everything you needed to do with just Sonic in his base form, and that power-ups were not a necessity, they were a reward, they were a treat to use. I think making them this integral part of the gameplay isn't the wisest move.
Where you need to keep a button pressed down to hold a door open. Enemies could even use them. You could finish a boss by forcing him to open a lightning box, but the shield brings out a bunch of spikes that destroys the ship.
I love that. That's a cool idea. If we could get something like that, maybe you could have like a boss fight with a Robotnik that has a giant magnet on the bottom of it that it uses to kind of, you know, draw in badniks to fight you. And every time you hit Robotnik or the magnet, it rotates until you have to rotate it into like the upward kind of position, you know, 0 degrees upwards. And then once it's pointing upwards, it pulls all the spikes in on Dr. Robotnik, or pulls his entire factory down on top of him, and you have to outrun the falling factory. That could be a really cool thing for a 2D Sonic boss fight. So I like the idea of, you know, working in magnetism into a boss fight. I don't think this is the way to go, but because like, then how do you do it if you don't have that, you know?
This completely expands options for level design, the way Sonic interacts with his environment.
I would
I'd
say the opposite, man, because you've made them mandatory in so many. Well, you've implied that they'd be mandatory for certain parts.
Replayable value, while at the same time giving the collection and protection of rings some weight. Sega, this is just one creative solution, but the bottom line is this: respect the intellect of the player. Do we want to push buttons placed in front of us just to kill time?
That is one thing that Sega does need to do a little more, is to respect the intellect of the player. Like, that's something where they've had us locked to scripted sequences quite a bit. A lot of rail grinding that doesn't really require any player input. I don't think this is the answer, though. But
I don't think so. Now
narrative.
let's talk briefly on this last subject, the story. With no voice acting to guide us, story will be told through animation and suggestion, which is fine, because we don't need everything over-explained for us, and we don't need a complex storyline to keep us compelled. The maturity is all in the gameplay. But that said, we do need a reason to press the forward button. So let's look at the opening cutscene for your most successful game, Sonic 3.
Sonic 3 did a very good job with its storytelling. Told a lot of it through the environments, the little animations. Showed that a little goes a long way. So I'm listening.
Okay, that was over in about 20 seconds. In this cutscene, we meet all the important characters, we establish who our enemy is, and we are given a motive for progressing through the game. And this is all that's needed. Sega, keep the story simple and give the player a simple motive. Okay, with that said, let's look at a brief overview of the new design. We've established that your target audience is now adults and no longer...
So we've made it niche rather than mainstream. Okay.
We bring Sonic back into 2 dimensions.
We're admitting defeat.
We remove all voice acting, and we shift Sonic's appearance to feel more vulnerable.
Now, I'm just going to pause it and look at this, because this, to me, is kind of the opposite of what Sonic is all about. It's not moving forward, it's regressing, it's sticking with 2D, you know, playing it safe. We've removed all of the voice acting from Sonic and his stupid friends, for those people that really don't like that stuff. We've made him vulnerable, and we're targeting adults now.
A new moveset is introduced, which
But momentum-based moveset is cool, even though that moveset that is mentioned is the one from Sonic Boom, Shattered Crystal, and Fire and Ice.
adds great momentum-based gameplay. And we've introduced a new game mechanic through the backpack and power.
And that is something from
which
Sonic
opens up
Lost World.
Huge gameplay possibilities and replay value. Sega, this all comes from a place of love for Sonic. The very first game I owned was Sonic 1 on the Master System, and I fell in love with gaming instantly. Your mascot made me love games and art. And it's been
See, he got a lot of hate for this, Jarvan. Jarvan got a lot of hate for this. He's one of us. One of you guys. He's just got his own ideas for what he wants to see this become.
hard to see your
Don't you
franchise
hate him?
get crushed into the dirt. Even if you don't take any of this on board, I hope you are very intelligent with how you approach your next Sonic game. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. Love, Javid.
Hell yeah, Jav. So, I don't think this video got the hate that it did because it was bad. I think it got the hate it did because it scared Sonic fans. We had someone experienced in the gaming industry who brought statistics along with him to the table and had clearly taken a look at this massive mainstream brand that we all love and said maybe it would work better as an indie platformer with a cult following, stripping back a lot of things that we've grown fond of over the years. And worse yet, made it tangible. Javid showed us something that looked like an actual video game that you could buy. I think what happened here was that Javid had done such a good job with these animations and the visuals on this video that it felt like we were actually seeing this reboot happen. And what happens when you reboot something? You get your detractors. People get angry. People get protective over the original version. In actuality, while the guy had experience in the game industry, he said from the start that he didn't claim to be an authority on any of this. As far as this video is concerned, this is just a guy throwing out some ideas for what could be done with Sonic the Hedgehog. And those are a dime a dozen. Lord knows I've made a few. What made this one the boogeyman of the Sonic fanbase, though, was that it felt real. Was the elements where Javid had done such a good job that it genuinely felt like this was happening before our very eyes. And that provoked this vitriolic anger from Sonic fans. But what did I, the arbiter of truth and knowledge, think of this video? I, who holds the authority on this. No, I don't. I'm not that delusional. I thought it was very well put together. The video itself, incredibly well made, and I think he did a great job at making his pitch feel tangible. The fact that even I get a little scared watching this shows that he's done a good job. But there are definitely some major holes in kind of the research end of things and kind of what Sonic represents to the gaming industry and how this pitch really moves away from some of those fundamentals beyond just the core tenets of Sonic gameplay and really drifts away from what I think Sega's intentions for this character are. There are other areas where I think a happy medium can be found. For example, the more vulnerable Sonic is something where we have seen a middle ground achieved with the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, where he's got that cocky, confident persona on the surface, but beneath that, there is a guy that grapples with loneliness and isolation. We also got a much more vulnerable take on Sonic in Sonic Prime as well. I think the problem with this video was we didn't talk enough about the traversal element of Sonic. We talked a bit about his moveset in terms of offensive capabilities, platforming as well, but we never really talked about how Sonic will feel to run as, or what platforming was actually going to be like for this one. And while I don't doubt that this did come from a place of love, I mean, the guy clearly does love Sonic if you listen to him both at the end of the video and look at his online portfolio. I think it's that it came from a place that it's not just Sonic games that need to change, but Sonic himself, Sonic as a brand, needs to change. Which, truth be told, I don't think it does. There are certainly changes that can be made within it, but Sonic as this mega brand that exudes confidence and is all about moving forward, that is as fundamental to Sonic as him being a hedgehog, as far as I'm concerned. I also wish this video might have explored kind of future potential, what you could do for sequels, how this could move forward for the future of the Sonic franchise. This here appears to pitch not just really just one game, so much as one character within one game. We don't hear anything about Dr. Robotnik or Tails or Knuckles or Amy. What's being pitched here is really more of a vibe than anything else. So yeah, those are my 2 cents on this pitch video. I think it definitely has its weaknesses, but the things that made people hate this video were really where the video did a great job at showing us what this Sonic would be. It's the fact that it felt so possible that made Sonic fans' blood boil. But what do you guys think? Comment below, discuss, be nice about it. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to support more like it, be sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below is the link to my Patreon page, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get your name in the credits of these videos, with a special shout out going to the patrons in the $5 and above tiers. They are Chohenshin, KB, RT0, CalX, Hypes, Sad Goku, Daredenny, SSS06, Kale Bennett, Kenkei. Good news, everyone! They found helium in the Iron Range. Your long search is over. Cirrus the Skeptic, Biotin. Oh no, I've used up all of the helium. What am I meant to do now? And Vera Wild. Thank you folks so much for your generosity, and to all of you at home, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Now get out of here.
Mario Victim Number 1. Mario is a creepypasta surrounding a disturbing ROM hack of the game Super Mario World. This creepypasta story involves a moderator on the ROM hack site Super Mario World Central named Adam, who discovers a hack simply titled Mario. While playing, Adam finds out that the game contains a lot of creepy levels, spooky messages, and as well references to a mysterious character known as Victim Number 1. What made this creepypasta popular though was an image that was hidden within its files. This image, it's so incredibly haunting. As a kid, I hated this image. I remember it very well. What was this photo actually of though? Many people over the years grew very curious of its origins, and so investigation would start into tracking down the unedited version of this image. There were many different theories thrown around. Many people believe that this image was maybe a highly edited Fatal Frame image. Some people even thought it was maybe Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gear. The most popular theory though was that the image was a GIMP Photoshop edit of a band member. An idea would later come around that maybe it was an edit of a member from the band Derick, if I pronounced that right, and it turned out that this theory was correct. Eventually, the image was amazingly found. On September 2nd, 2023, Discord user God had posted the unedited photo to the Victim Cord Discord server. Turns out that this image is actually a cosplay photo of the band and came from Flickr. And with this, the long search had come to an end. SpongeBob SquarePants 4D pre-show video. In 2003, there was this SpongeBob motion simulator ride called SpongeBob SquarePants 4D. It was in many different locations. It would debut at Flamingo Land Resort and would be at many Paramount Park locations. This ride revolved around SpongeBob teaching the people how to make a Krabby Patty. However, after losing a pickle, it would turn into a wild chase to get the pickle back. It was a memorable ride that a lot of people loved. While people would wait in line for this ride, there would be many TVs around in the queue, showing a pre-show video of SpongeBob in a line remembering memories from the show. This ride eventually closed, and this pre-show video hadn't been seen since. The only things that were left available of it were a couple photos and incredibly brief clips. On July 5th, 2025, Twitter user Lost Media Busters made a post about this Lost SpongeBob pre-show video. A user had replied to this post saying they actually had the whole pre-show video downloaded. They revealed that they saved an old YouTube upload of it before it was deleted. And a day later, the entire pre-show video was sent to the Lost Media Busters, who had uploaded it to their YouTube channel.
Of all the ships I've been on, I think my favorite is Friendship. Are you ready for jellyfish?
Disgusting Domino's people.
2 Domino's employees facing charges tonight, and this is why. A shocking video that hit the web. It shows them allegedly messing with your food. They have turned themselves in, and tonight we've learned they will be charged. News Channel 36 reporter Tony Burback is live now at the Catawba County Jail.
And we have a lot of new information about...
In 2009, 5 different videos were uploaded to YouTube. In these videos, 2 Domino's workers would do lots of disgusting and strange stuff. Michael Setzer would contaminate food with his nostrils and buttocks, with Christy Hammonds narrating and filming everything, stating that the contaminated food will be sent to customers. Obviously, these videos were shocking and people were furious. Sort of a Burger King foot lettuce situation, but times 1,000. The videos got pretty popular and would receive more than 1 million views. With the videos going viral, eventually the 2 workers were identified and charged with a felony of food contamination and received short sentences and probation. It's a pretty memorable and just crazy situation. Domino's did everything they could to get these videos off the internet, and they did a pretty good job. Despite these videos going quite viral, the videos somehow were never archived, and all 5 videos had become lost media. The only footage left available were small snippets from news reports. In 2024, a YouTuber who goes by Sizeron had decided to try and find all these missing lost videos, and in their search, managed to find 2 of the missing 5. These 2 were Sneeze Sticks and Domino's Pizza special ingredients. Sizeron had also mentioned that he actually discovered that a website known as goodasyou.org featured all of the videos and was allegedly archived by the site's owner. However, unfortunately, the videos were not viewable. The owner was contacted to see if they could maybe upload the videos, however, they never got back. Around a week after these discoveries, all of the videos were found. They were saved through the Good As You website link on the Wayback Machine using a specific download engine. All the videos from this website had been managed to be downloaded and were finally all archived. A very weird piece of Domino's history saved. Jumper and Singing Simon. On the Lost Media Wiki forums, a user who goes by Jupiter had made a post about some frog puppet show they used to watch as a kid in the late 90s. They remember it being called Jumper. Jupiter had claimed that their dad bought Jumper on VHS at a flea market in the San Francisco Bay Area around 1998, and gave it to their 3-year-old cousin who became obsessed with it. They have lots of memories with this show, and Jupiter and their family also remember this show. Jupiter also posted a mock-up drawing of what they remember the show looking like. The thing was though, this user couldn't find anything online about this show. Searching online for Jumper Frog Puppet Show gave nothing. It was like the show never existed. This became a pretty big lost media search. People wanted to find Jumper. Lots of suggestions and shows were brought up, but Jupiter confirmed these to not be what they remember at all. After some searching, eventually an advertisement for a video series was found titled Jumper, the Frog and Singing Simon, which had been published in the July 1988 issue of Billboard magazine. Was this the long-lost Jumper show Jupiter had been in search for? Eventually, YouTuber LSuperSonicQ had bought a Jumper and Singing Simon VHS tape and uploaded the tape onto YouTube. This was in fact the long-lost Jumper show that Jupiter remembered watching and finally got to see it again after all these years. It's crazy that this show was lost for so long. For literal decades, there were no screenshots or footage of it on the internet at all. And crazy to think as well that it was probably seen by more people in the first couple hours of it being uploaded than it probably was in the first 37 years of its existence. Wild. Dora the Explorer meets George Lopez. In 2022, a strange post was made to the Lost Media Wiki forums. User Popular Commotion made a post explaining some weird Dora the Explorer commercial they saw around 2008 to 2009. The commercial stood out to them because it started out like normal, with Dora and Boots dancing and singing, minding their own business, usual Dora the Explorer stuff. And out of nowhere, George Lopez comes into frame and asks them where he is. This post gained lots of intrigue, specifically because there was no information about this commercial online. No photos or footage of it existed online at all. No one had mentioned it apart from this user. Was this commercial real? It turned out it was. Almost a year later, in 2023, a user who goes by Marbs made a Twitter post explaining that they found the commercial after watching a recording of the Backyardigans. They would upload the commercial to YouTube shortly after, making this obscure lost commercial found.
Hola, I'm Dora.
Hola yourself. Where am I?
On Nick Jr.
Nick Jr. I'm supposed to be on Nick at Night.
Wow, he's really far from home.
Can you tell me how to get to Nick at Night?
Who do we ask for help when we don't know which way to go?
Oh, that's easy. That would be my agent or GPS.
George Lopez, every night on Nick at Night.
Come on, vámonos!
Okay, I'm coming. And they say I got a big head.
Look, it's
The Aquabats Aqua Battle. The Aquabats Aqua Battle was a flash game created to promote the upcoming show at the time, the Aquabats Super Show. I remember watching this show a lot as a kid. This flash game was put onto the Hub's website in 2012 and was a side-scrolling beat-em-up game. When the website was shut down, the game disappeared along with it and became unplayable. There were only screenshots and a couple gameplay videos of this game left available. And interestingly, a copyable of the game featuring the first level had been discovered on a Chinese website. It wasn't until August 29th, 2025 when the rest of the game had been uploaded onto the Flashpoint archive, making the game found and fully playable again. Super Mario 64 Big Star Secret. Now, I know this isn't technically found lost media, but this video was recently partially found. I thought I might as well bring it up and talk about it since it's actually pretty cool. In 2007, a video was uploaded to YouTube titled Super Mario 64 Big Star Secret, uploaded by a user who goes by LotusMan17. This video was gameplay of Super Mario 64 and was a fake tutorial showing how to unlock Luigi in the game. At the end of the video, a jump scare appeared and was the K-Fi car zombie commercial jump scare. The video was eventually deleted in 2011. The video, while it was available, actually gained a lot of views. It was actually why the video was deleted in the first place. The video had received constant hate and backlash due to the jump scare. Many people would talk about this video on different forums, however, for a while, no one could find anything about it. There was no information about it online. Looking through the Wayback Machine, the video had been spotted, with details about who made it and its title being discovered. Although saved through the Wayback Machine, the video itself unfortunately wasn't archived. Through this, it was found that there was actually a reaction video made a while ago reacting to Super Mario 64 Big Star Secret. However, it was very low quality, couldn't really make out anything on the screen. Eventually, something amazing happened. In May of this year, Lost Media Wiki Discord user Peter had managed to find the first 47 seconds of this video. Peter's old Windows XP computer had a corrupted browser cache, and every video he ever watched stayed on his computer. Peter only had 47 seconds though. There is another 4 minutes and 25 seconds still yet to be found. Still really fascinating though that this small snippet got found. I wonder if we will ever get to see the rest of it. Eddie Retractahead. This was an animated series which aired on Nickelodeon UK in 2008, created by the same company that made Danger Mouse and Count Duckula. This series is strange. It's about a blob of mucus named Eddie who lives with an orange blob named Blab Blob. They live in an inflatable pie house in Area 52 and go on different adventures. For the longest time, there were only a couple available episodes online, while the rest had been lost and missing. 10 one-minute shorts were produced. The only episodes that had been available online were 3 titled as Trailer, Space Day, and Explodiatus. This would change in 2019 when more episodes were found. Tracy Cleland, who was one of the series editors, had uploaded 2 different episodes onto her resume and Vimeo account. These episodes being House and Speed Photo. Years later, in 2022, the episode Olympics was found, when YouTuber Lucas's archive uploaded a VHS recording of the lost episode. Finally, in July 2025, all of the episodes would be recovered. The whole series, including the missing episodes, was uploaded onto the Internet Archive by Jordan Wright, who had actually worked on the show. These episodes were in super high quality and were sourced from a real CD that had been found and sent by series director Gene Flynn. It took a while, but the series had been completely found in the end. The Incredibles promotional trailers. In 2004, before the release of Pixar's The Incredibles, there had been 3 online promotional trailers made. These trailers had been uploaded to the original Disney website and, interestingly, weren't promotional trailers that would have clips from the movie. Instead were real-life sort of skits. These promos had never been archived, and for a while, the only thing that had remained of them were recollections from users online who remembered watching them. However, in 2020, one of the trailers had been found. It had been found on a promotional CD-ROM that was distributed in the UK and had been put up online. Then in 2021, the other two had been discovered. QuickTime files were found and uploaded to archive.org, making these almost 2-decade-long obscure trailers found. McDonald's New Slang commercial. New Slang is a song that was created by the band The Shins and is from their 2001 debut album, Oh Inverted World. This song was eventually used in a McDonald's commercial, specifically was used in one that would air during the 2002 Winter Olympics. This commercial actually wasn't received well. The Shins at the time were an upcoming indie band, so licensing their song to McDonald's was seen as a sellout move by many viewers. Over the years, people have remembered this commercial. There can be old articles and forums found from different years of people discussing it and what the ad included. However, the commercial itself was lost. It didn't seem to be archived anywhere. That was until 2023, when a YouTuber who goes by Junkies Tape In posted a commercial compilation to his channel. And in this commercial compilation was the long-lost New Slang McDonald's commercial, hidden away and found after 2 decades. Charlie the Steak. In 2013, a game was released to the iOS App Store called Charlie the Steak. In this game, you would beat up and mess with a piece of steak. The game was shortly taken down not long after, around a year later in 2015, and the only things that were left available of it were images and videos of gameplay. In 2024, the game became a meme, and would start gaining lots of popularity online despite being lost media. I guess it became a meme since the